She was on her knees, reaching for his pen under the table while the whole restaurant watched. Her hands were shaking. Her face was burning with shame. The billionaire was laughing, enjoying every second of her humiliation. Then her wallet fell open and her FBI badge hit the floor. The laughter stopped, and the richest man in the room realized he'd just made the worst mistake of his life. Threes, the coffee pot slipped from Emma Grace's trembling hands and shattered across the marble floor of the Grand Meridian Hotel restaurant. The room went silent. 40 pairs of eyes turned toward her as she dropped to her knees, scrambling to pick up the shards. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. It was the third thing she'd dropped that week. Her hands never stopped shaking anymore, not since the bills piled up, not since her daughter Lily's diagnosis, not since the bank's final notice. Every shift here felt like trying to breathe underwater. "Clean it up quickly," her manager Marcus hissed, thrusting a mop at her. "Table 12 is complaining." "The Blackwell party." Emma froze. Everyone knew that table. Richard Blackwell sat there every Thursday like a king among men. He was rich, ruthless, and cruel, the kind of man whose signature could buy a building or end a career. She wiped the floor, then hurried to the kitchen, splashing water on her face. Her reflection in the steel fridge looked like a stranger. Dark circles, sharp cheekbones, eyes hollow from sleepless nights. She'd lost 15 pounds in 2 months, giving her food to Lily, who was only 7. "Fighting leukemia! Emma!" Marcus called. "Table 12. You're covering!" Her heart sank, but she couldn't refuse. She straightened her red waistcoat, gripped her notepad, and stepped back into the dining hall. Richard Blackwell didn't look up when she approached. He was signing papers with a gold pen, his voice low and commanding. "Good evening," Emma said quietly. "Can I get you anything else tonight?" He kept writing. The men at his table ignored her. Finally, he spoke. "Yes, tell your manager this steak is overcooked. I ordered medium rare." "This is medium." "I'll take it back right away, sir," she said softly. "I'm sure you will." He finally looked up, eyes cold as glass. "What's your name?" "Emma, sir." "Emma." He said it like it was a bad word. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes, sir. Mr. Blackwell." "I bought this hotel 3 months ago," he said. "Which means I own this restaurant. Which means I own your job. Understand?" Her hands shook. "Yes, sir." He smirked and dropped his pen deliberately. It clattered to the floor. "Pick it up," Emma blinked. "Sir, I said pick it up." "On your knees." The room fell silent again. Her face burned. She thought of Lily's pale face in a hospital bed, the unpaid rent, the overdue electricity bill. Then she sank to her knees. The floor was cold. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the pen beneath his chair. Behind her, Blackwell chuckled. "That's better," he said. "See? Obedience looks good on you." Emma crawled out, clutching the pen. As she stood, her bag slipped, scattering lipstick, receipts, and coins across the floor. Her wallet flipped open, and something slid out, landing at Blackwell's feet. A black card with gold lettering. Special Agent Emma Grace Harrison, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The world stopped. Blackwell froze, staring at the card. "What is this?" he whispered. Emma took it from his hand. The tremor in her fingers was gone now. "It's exactly what it looks like," he paled. "You're FBI?" "Was," she said. "Leave of absence. My daughter's sick. But you're working here." "Insurance doesn't cover everything," she said simply. He swallowed hard. "The pen, I made you." "You made me crawl," she said quietly. In front of everyone, one of his partners muttered, "Richard, maybe we should—" "Shut up," Blackwell snapped, but his voice had lost its power. Emma straightened. "You treat people like they're nothing because you think they need you." "Marcus, Sarah, everyone here. Do we all need badges before you act human?" He said nothing. The diners were watching him now, judgment thick in the air. "I want you to leave," Emma said. "Pay your bill. Don't come back. You can't throw me out," he hissed. "I own this hotel." "Actually," came a voice from the doorway, "you don't. Not anymore." Everyone turned. A tall woman in a tailored suit strode forward, heels clicking against marble. Patricia Chen, she introduced herself, extending a hand to Emma. Department of Justice, Financial Crimes Division. Blackwell's jaw dropped. What is this? Mr. Blackwell, Patricia said coolly, we've been investigating you for tax evasion, fraud, and money laundering. Your assets were frozen this afternoon, including this hotel. That's impossible, he sputtered. I have lawyers. You have 30 seconds before federal agents walk through that door, she said, glancing at her watch. I came ahead to avoid a scene, though it seems we're too late. Patricia turned to Emma, eyes softening. Agent Harrison, we've been trying to reach you. Your leave is extended as long as you need, and the Bureau's insurance will cover your daughter's full treatment, every experimental therapy, every expense. Emma's breath caught. What? Director's orders, Patricia said gently. We take care of our own. Emma's knees weakened. I couldn't ask for... You didn't have to. Your family. Patricia looked at Blackwell. You can walk out quietly or you can wait for the agents. Blackwell looked around. Servers, diners, cameras. His power was gone. He turned and walked out, followed by his silent partners. The restaurant stayed quiet for a heartbeat, then another. Then someone began clapping. Then another. Soon the room was filled with applause. Emma stood motionless, tears running down her cheeks. Marcus appeared beside her, guiding her to a chair. Emma, I had no idea, he whispered. Nobody did, she said softly. Patricia sat across from her and slid a folder forward. Here, transport to Johns Hopkins is arranged. Best pediatric oncology team in the country. You and Lily leave tomorrow. Everything's covered. Housing, food, everything. Emma opened the folder with shaking hands. She saw Lily's name. Words like cutting edge and excellent prognosis. Her lips trembled. Is this real? Patricia smiled faintly. You've given 8 years to the Bureau. You've risked everything. Now it's our turn. Emma covered her face, sobbing. 3 months of fear and shame poured out. When she finally looked up, Patricia was still there, calm and patient. There's one more thing, Patricia said. We need to talk about Richard Blackwell. About what just happened here. Because this isn't over, Emma, not by a long shot. Emma wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and looked at Patricia Chen. The restaurant was still buzzing with whispers and stares, but it all felt distant now, like she was underwater. What do you mean it's not over? Patricia glanced around the dining room, then leaned in closer. What happened here tonight, what Blackwell did to you, it wasn't random. He's been doing this for years. We've interviewed dozens of his former employees. Harassment, humiliation, forcing people into degrading situations because he enjoys the power. But no one would testify. They were all too scared of him, too scared of losing everything. Emma's hands tightened on the folder. So you want me to testify? I want you to help us make sure he never does this to anyone else. Patricia's voice was firm but kind. The financial crimes will put him away, but Emma, you have something else now. You have witnesses. A room full of people who saw exactly who Richard Blackwell really is. That carries weight. Marcus appeared with a glass of water and set it down gently in front of Emma. Whatever you need, he said quietly. I'll testify. I've worked here for 6 years and I've seen things. Things I was too afraid to report because I thought he'd destroy me. But if you're standing up to him, I'll stand with you. One of the other servers, an older woman named Teresa, stepped forward. Me too. He made my nephew crawl under a table to find his cufflink last year. My nephew was 16, working his first job. He quit the next day and never worked in a restaurant again. More voices joined in. Stories poured out from servers and kitchen staff, each one worse than the last. Emma listened and felt something building inside her chest. Not just anger anymore, something stronger. Purpose. She looked up at Patricia. When do we start? Patricia smiled. It was the first real warmth Emma had seen from her. Tomorrow after you see Lily. But tonight, you go home. You rest. You tell your daughter that everything's going to be okay now. Emma stood up on shaky legs. She started to take off her apron, then stopped. She looked at Marcus. Am I fired? He laughed, and it broke some of the tension in the room. Are you kidding? You're the only employee we have who can literally arrest someone. You've got a job here as long as you want it. But Emma, take the time you need. Take care of your little girl. We'll be here when you're ready to come back. If she came back, Emma thought. After tomorrow, after Johns Hopkins, after Lily got better, maybe she'd go back to the bureau full-time. Maybe she'd do something completely different. Right now, she just wanted to hold her daughter and tell her that the nightmare was finally ending. She gathered her things from the floor, sliding her FBI badge carefully back into her wallet. It felt different now, heavier somehow. For 3 months, she'd been hiding it, ashamed that she couldn't make things work, that being an FBI agent wasn't enough to save her daughter. But Patricia was right. She wasn't alone. She never had been. Patricia walked her to the employee exit. The night air was cold and sharp, and Emma breathed it in deep, feeling it clear her lungs. "There's a car waiting for you," Patricia said, nodding toward a black sedan. "It'll take you to the hospital. Take all the time you need with Lily tonight." "Thank you," Emma said, and the words felt too small for everything she was feeling. "Don't thank me. Just promise me something." Patricia's face was serious now. "When this is over, when your daughter is healthy and Blackwell is behind bars, don't forget what this felt like. Don't forget that there are thousands of people out there just like you were tonight. Scared, desperate, invisible. We need people like you fighting for them." Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. She slid into the back seat of the sedan and gave the driver the hospital address. As they pulled away from the Grand Meridian Hotel, she looked back and saw the restaurant windows glowing warm against the dark street. She thought about all the people inside, all the stories they carried, all the times they'd been made to feel small. Not anymore, she thought. Not if I can help it. The hospital hallways were quiet at this time of night. Emma's shoes squeaked on the polished floor as she made her way to the pediatric wing. She'd walked this path so many times over the past 3 months that her body knew the way without thinking. 3rd floor, turn left. Room 304. She pushed open the door slowly, not wanting to wake Lily if she was sleeping. But her daughter was awake, propped up on pillows, watching something on the small TV mounted to the wall. She looked so tiny in the big hospital bed, wrapped in blankets covered with cartoon animals. Her head was wrapped in a soft pink scarf that covered where her hair had fallen out from the treatments. "Mommy!" Lily's face lit up, and that smile was everything. It was the sun coming up after the longest night. It was air after drowning. It was hope. Emma rushed to the bedside and wrapped her arms around her daughter, careful of the IV line in her small arm. She buried her face in Lily's shoulder and breathed in that little girl smell that was somehow still there under the hospital antiseptic. "Why are you crying, Mommy?" Lily asked, patting Emma's back with her free hand like she was the parent comforting the child. "Because I'm happy, baby. So happy." Emma pulled back and looked at her daughter's face, those big brown eyes that saw too much, that had grown too wise too fast. "I have something to tell you. Something wonderful." She explained about Johns Hopkins, about the new treatment, about how they were going to a place with the best doctors in the whole country. She kept it simple, kept it hopeful, didn't mention the FBI or Blackwell or any of the darkness from tonight. Lily didn't need to carry that weight. "Will it make me better?" Lily asked, and her voice was so small, so full of careful hope that it broke Emma's heart all over again. "Yes, baby. It's going to make you better. I promise. And you won't have to work at the restaurant anymore? You won't be so tired all the time?" Emma's throat tightened. She'd tried so hard to hide how exhausted she was, how scared, but of course Lily had noticed. Kids always noticed everything that mattered. "I won't be tired anymore," Emma said, smoothing the scarf on Lily's head. "I'm going to be right there with you the whole time. Every appointment, every treatment, every single day. That's my only job now, taking care of you." Lily's smile was like sunrise. She snuggled into Emma's arms, and within minutes, she was asleep. Emma held her and watched her breathe, watching her chest rise and fall, steady and strong. She thought about the moment under Blackwell's table, on her knees, reaching for that pen. How small she'd felt, how worthless. But she'd been wrong. She wasn't small. She wasn't worthless. She was a mother fighting for her daughter. She was an FBI agent who'd spent years protecting people. She was someone who mattered. And tomorrow she'd start proving it. The next few weeks blurred together in the best possible way. Johns Hopkins was everything Patricia had promised. The doctors were confident and kind. The treatment plan was aggressive, but effective. Lily responded better than anyone had hoped. Her color came back. Her energy returned. She started laughing again, really laughing the way she had before the cancer. Emma stayed by her side through all of it, but she also made time to work with Patricia and the prosecution team building the case against Richard Blackwell. She gave her testimony. She helped coordinate with the other witnesses from the restaurant. She watched as a pattern emerged, a clear picture of a man who'd used his wealth and power to hurt people for years, just because he could. The trial was swift. Blackwell's lawyers tried everything, but there was too much evidence, too many voices speaking up. The financial crimes alone would have been enough. But when the jury heard from Emma, from Marcus, from Teresa, from all the people he'd degraded and humiliated, they saw who he really was. Guilty on all counts. Emma was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. She watched Blackwell's face crumble, watched him finally understand that his money couldn't protect him anymore. She should have felt satisfaction, maybe even joy, but mostly she just felt tired and ready for it to be over. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed them. Patricia handled most of the questions, but Emma stepped up to the microphones once, just once, to say something she needed to say. "This case was never really about me," she said, her voice steady. "It's about every person who's ever been made to feel invisible. Every server, every housekeeper, every driver, every person just trying to make an honest living and getting treated like they don't matter. You do matter. Your dignity matters. And when someone tries to take that from you, there are people who will fight to help you get it back." She stepped away from the microphones before they could ask more questions. She'd said what she needed to say. 3 months later, Emma stood in Lily's hospital room at Johns Hopkins one last time. But this time, they were packing up. Going home, Lily's latest scans had come back clear. The cancer was gone. The doctors were optimistic, careful, but optimistic. They'd need regular checkups, continued monitoring, but Lily was in remission. "Are you ready, baby?" Emma asked, zipping up the last bag. Lily nodded, practically bouncing with excitement. She was wearing regular clothes instead of hospital gowns. Her hair was starting to grow back, soft little curls that Emma couldn't stop touching. She looked like a kid again instead of a patient. They walked down those hallways one last time, past the nurses who'd become like family, past the waiting room where Emma had spent so many sleepless nights. Out into the sunshine. Patricia was waiting by a car, smiling. "Thought you might want a ride home." Emma smiled back. "We'd love one." On the drive back, Lily chattered about all the things she wanted to do now that she was better. "Go to the park. Start school again. Get a puppy." Emma listened and laughed and felt something she hadn't felt in almost a year. Peace. "What about you?" Patricia asked quietly while Lily was distracted by the window. "What's next for Special Agent Harrison?" Emma watched the city slide by outside her window. She thought about the bureau, about the restaurant, about all the different paths stretching out in front of her. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "But I've got time to figure it out." "You do," Patricia agreed. "And whatever you decide, you've got people behind you." When they finally pulled up to their apartment building, Emma felt like she was seeing it for the first time. It wasn't much. The paint was peeling and the elevator was broken more often than not. But it was home. And home was going to be okay now. She helped Lily out of the car and grabbed their bags. As they walked toward the entrance, Lily slipped her small hand into Emma's. "Mommy," she said, "did I ever tell you you're my hero?" Emma stopped walking. She knelt down so she was eye level with her daughter. "You're mine too, baby. Every single day, you're mine too." They went inside together, hand in hand, and Emma realized something as they climbed the stairs to their apartment. She'd spent months thinking she was drowning, thinking she was failing, thinking she wasn't enough. But she'd been wrong. She'd been strong all along. Strong enough to work 2 jobs. Strong enough to keep fighting when everything seemed hopeless. Strong enough to get back up after being forced to her knees. That night, after Lily was asleep in her own bed for the first time in months, Emma sat by the window and looked out at the city lights. She thought about Richard Blackwell in his cell. She thought about all the people at the Grand Meridian who were working their shifts tonight without fear. She thought about the mother somewhere out there who was scared and desperate and trying to figure out how to save her kid. She pulled out her phone and sent a message to Patricia. "I'm ready to come back. But I want to work cases that matter, cases that help people like us." The response came back almost immediately. "I was hoping you'd say that." "Welcome back, Agent Harrison." Emma smiled and set down her phone. She looked in on Lily one more time, watching her sleep peacefully, her chest rising and falling with easy breaths. Tomorrow they'd start building their new normal. Tomorrow she'd figure out how to balance being a mother and being an agent. Tomorrow she'd start fighting for all those invisible people who needed someone in their corner. But tonight she just sat with her daughter sleeping safe in the next room and let herself feel grateful. Grateful for Patricia. Grateful for Marcus and Teresa and everyone at the restaurant who'd stood up when it mattered. Grateful for the bureau that had caught her when she was falling. Grateful for second chances and new beginnings and the simple miracle of her daughter's breathing. She'd been on her knees just a few months ago, reaching for a pen under a table while a cruel man laughed. She'd felt worthless, powerless, broken. But she'd been wrong about that too. Sometimes you have to hit the bottom before you remember you know how to climb. Sometimes you have to lose everything before you realize what really matters. Sometimes the worst moment of your life is actually the beginning of something better. Emma Grace Harrison had been a waitress on her knees, but she'd stood back up as an FBI agent, as a mother, as a fighter, and she wasn't done fighting yet. Not by a long shot. The city lights sparkled outside her window like promises, and for the first time in a very long time, Emma believed in promises again. She believed in tomorrow. She believed in justice. She believed in the strength it takes to keep going when everything tells you to quit. Most of all, she believed in the power of standing back up, no matter how many times life forces you to your knees. That was the real victory, not the courtroom, not the verdict. Not even Lily's remission, as miraculous as that was. The real victory was remembering who she was, and never forgetting it again.